Good morning, students. So in the yesterday class, we had completed the hot chamber die casting. So today's class, we will start about the cool chamber die casting. So I will share my screen. So we have seen the hot chamber die casting. So in a hot chamber die casting, we are going to using a molten metal, and one is a fixed die, fixed mold, and other is a moving mold. So in this, the molten metal is continuously get to be, it is to be get over the furnace. So it is melting continuously. So after that, it is going to be having a gooseneck and the nozzle injector part, injector nozzle. So the injector tip will be there for this plunger so that the molten metal is to be get dipped into the nozzle. So due to the plunger, the pressure is to be get given. So the total molten metal carries over to the injector nozzle and toward the gate which was there in the total mold box. So until the total die is to be get solidified, the plunger will be in the same position. So when it is to be get solidified, the plunger comes to its back position. So this what we have learned in a yesterday class, hot chamber die casting. So it is mostly used for a low melting points. So in the today's class, we will learn about what is meant by a cool chamber die casting, right? So process is same. So only one thing is there here directly we are going to be using a molten metal. You are not putting, you are not having submerged into any other furnace. The molten metal is not to get submerged into any other furnace. So it is only using directly molten metal continuously. So we'll start. So in the cold chamber process, the molten metal is poured into the cold chamber in each cycle. So we are going to be poured in the molten metal in each cycle. So one of the best advantage of the this die casting is the dies are the permanent molds. So it cannot be get waste off. So it can be get reused at each and every time. So the operating cycle is the die is closed and the molten metal is hand ladled into the cold chamber cylinder. So the plunger pushes molten metal into the die cavity. The metal is held under a high pressure until it solidifies. So whatever I had told you, the total molten metal is to be get enter into the die cavity. The molten metal until the molten metal is to be get solidifies. The pressure is to be in the same position. So the die opens and the plunger follows to push the solidified slug from the cylinder. If there are cores, they are retracted away. So ejector pins push casting off ejector die and the plunger returns. So these are the nothing but what is the operating cycle is to be get carried out. So we will see the diagram. So this is the diagram, students. So here we are going to be taking a chamber. In this chamber, we had placed one plunger and one type of the mold. In way the here it is to be get shown in the second diagram. Wait a second. See here. So this is the diagram for the cold chamber. So one is you are going to be pouring the molten metal through the ladle into the hollow shape where the it is nothing but an injector nozzle. So from where the molten metal is to be get carried out towards the gate and towards the die, which was placed, which was the mold is prepared. So this the molten metal is to be have continuously high pressure. It is to be given a high pressure so that the molten metal is to be get insert totally to the gates as well as goes to the die. So it is going to be get solidified in a easiest manner. So until it is to be get solidified, the plunger cannot be get reversed to be back position. So this is the second diagram explains you how the plunger is to be get moving until it having a solidification. So the plunger cannot be get into its original position. Okay. So we will see what are the components are used. So here the C frame. So the C frame, this is the C frame. So where it is a structural framework that supports the short components mounted to a stationary platen. So it must be in a position so that it is it is the fixed part. It is a fixed part. So where the molten metal is to be get carrying out through an injector. So this is the C frame which is going to be taken. So the short cylinder which is mounted to the C frame, the short cylinder which is mounted to the C frame, and next injects the metal in its horizontal stroke. So we are going to be learning about the horizontal cold chamber, not a vertical cold chamber. So in a horizontal cold chamber, when the plunger is going to be given a high pressure, the molten metal is to be get striking off towards the C frame. So next, the coupling. So here the coupling explains that the connects the short cylinder to the plunger rod and tip. So this is a short cylinder. So the coupling explains that the connects the short cylinder to the plunger rod, short cylinder to the plunger rod and the tip. So the cold chamber, it is a short sleeve or tube that the plunger slides into the pump the metal. It is a cold chamber what we are going to be using. This is the part. This is the part, the cold chamber. So it is nothing but the short sleeve or tube that the plunger slides into the pump the metal. So why here these all components are to be get explained means here you are going to pouring a molten metal and somewhat a pressure is to be, high pressure is to be get applied. Here always the molten metal cannot be get in a furnace and it is not continuously get burned. So the plunger rod. So the plunger rod and the tip. So the pumps the metal. So plunger rod. This is the plunger rod which pumps the metal and made from highly conductive material. And it is water cooled. Highly conductive material, it is water cooled. And the conventional cold chamber. So conventional cold chamber plunger tips do not have any rings. They don't have any rings. Newly technology indicates that the tip may benefit from a design with the rings. So it is not having any rings. So what is going to be happen? We have to see here. Clear. Next, the cold chamber machine cycle. The first phase, second phase, third phase, and the fourth phase. So in the first phase, we are going to pouring the molten metal through a ladle. So here the ram is going to be taken over the total shell. So after that, when the ram is to be get pushing inside, when the high pressure is to be get given. So you can see in the second phase. So when the high pressure is to be get given, so whatever the molten metal was there in the injector nozzle, it is to be get carried out through the gates and it is to be sent over to the die casting. So this is the phase 3. So phase 3 explains that until the molten metal gets solidifies. So this is the total piece what you want to get prepared. So this is the U-shaped piece. It is to be get prepared. So so when it is to be get solidified, the plunger will be in the same position. So after it is to be get solidified, the total process is again to the reverse part. So the moving it is to be get back to its original position. The fixed part which was attached to the plunger, it comes to its original position. So this is the cold chamber machine cycle. What is going to be happen? So yesterday in the hot chamber die casting, with the help of a furnace, you are going to melting the metal continuously, and it is having a gooseneck and it is having a injector nozzle tip. So from the injector nozzle tip, where the total arrangement was dip in a furnace which is having a molten metal. So automatically the molten metal is to be get carried out and it is to be get taken over through the injector nozzle and through the gates and to the die casting. So there, until it is to be get solidified, the total process will be get constant. It won't be get moves. So in a similar manner, in the cold chamber, you are not having that type of arrangement. Here you are going to be taking as a molten metal which was melted in an outside. It is going to be get taken. So it is to be get put in a part, and it is to be pushing in a some high pressure. Clear? So, so the cold chamber process uses, so used for a high melting point alloys and alloys with a significant aluminum consistent. So in the hot chamber, it is used for a low melting point alloys. So aluminum, copper, magnesium, iron, titanium, composite materials. So these are the things which are to be get used. So advantages is economical for the large production quantities, good dimensional accuracy and a surface finish, thin sections are possible, rapid cooling provides a small grain size and a good strength to casting. So disadvantage is generally limited to metals with low metals, and a part geometry must allow the removal from the die cavity. So these are the advantages and disadvantages. So we will see what is the correct operation so that you can get understand. So be sorry. So here the cold chamber die casting. So what we had seen in the diagram. So it is an injector unit, the funnel, the fixed die, and the moving die, and the platen. So the tie bar. So from the funnel, we are going to be taking over the molten metal. So when the machine was going to be get start, all the dies are to be get into its original position. So from here, the molten metal is to be taken, the plunger which moves towards to the position. And this knock, it uses like a screw. So molten metal is transferred from the heating furnace using a transfer ladle and poured into the sleeve. So these are the gating systems. So this black wires, it looks like it is nothing but a gating system through which the molten metal is to be get carried out over to the die particles. So plunger pushes the molten metal through the screw to fill the cavity in the die. So until it is to be get solidified, the plunger will be in its own position only. It won't be get changed. So the moving die moved back and the casting is ejected from the ejector pins. So this is the thing which was happening under the cold chamber die casting. So yesterday you had seen it is a hot chamber die casting. So in a hot chamber die casting, you had observed that the plunger, and this is the total baking box. So where the molten metal is to be get carrying over. So this is submerged in that one. So it is having an inlet port tip and a ram, and this is having cavity, inlet nozzle, molten metal. So when the plunger is to be get taken through the injector tip, the molten metal is to be get carried out, and it is to be carried over the injector nozzle. So here, these are the gate systems through which the molten metal is carried over, and it is to be get flows over to the mold cavity. So after it is to be get solidified, the die will be get open and it is to be get removed. Yes, friends. So this is nothing but what is meant by a what is meant by die casting, what is meant by a hot chamber die casting and as well as a cold chamber die casting. So clear. So next, we will go over the centrifugal casting. So what is meant by centrifugal casting? So the centrifugal casting is used to prepare the hollow cylinders. It is used to prepare the hollow cylinders, the centrifugal casting. So the cylinders with a high length, so it is to be mainly used. And different types of materials can be used under the centrifugal casting. So centrifugal casting, sometimes called a roto casting. It is a metal casting process that uses centrifugal force to form a cylindrical parts. This differs from the most metal casting process, which use gravity or pressure to fill the mold. So in centrifugal casting, a permanent mold made from the steel, cast iron, or a graphite is typically used. However, the use of expandable sand molds is also possible. So in the centrifugal casting, the same process which we have learned in yesterday, permanent molding. So there the spray is to be get done over to your mold pieces so that the part can be get removed in an easiest manner. The same way in a centrifugal casting also, whatever the permanent mold you are going to be taken, it is to be get sprayed. And after that, the permanent mold is made up of steel, cast iron, or graphite. So here it is mainly used for a cylindrical parts. Mainly used for a cylindrical parts. The centrifugal casting is mostly used in an industry, a big industries. So it is when the round shaped pieces are to be get done, the centrifugal casting is mostly used. So in an outside world, it is going to be having two types of castings. One is a horizontal centrifugal casting and a vertical centrifugal casting. Not only a horizontal, we can also see the vertical centrifugal casting machines also. Clear. So this is the machine. So these are the bottom rollers, the base. So this is a molten metal which is taken. This is a ladle, and the top rollers, the mold. So this is outer shell. It is nothing but a mold. The center is a casting. So this is a motor, bottom rollers, and pouring basin, and a finished casting. So this the process explains that from the basin which was connected to the mold. The basin totally which is going to be carried out the molten metal is connected to the mold. So the total the part mold is to be get rotating in a direction with the help of the top rollers and as well as the bottom rollers. It is putting some force over it not to be get open. It is in a some closed position. So when it is rotating, the molten metal from this basin, it is carried over to the mold. So it is explaining that you are not going to be getting a very hard particle. It is not a closed particle. It is a hollow particle. You are going to be getting a hollow part. You are not getting a closed part. So we can get a hollow cylinders, not a closed cylinder, because when the molten metal is to be get pouring into the total mold and the mold is to be get rotating, the molten metal is to be get carried out to the walls of your mold, not it is to be get sticking in a certain nature. So in some direction it is to be get rotating. So the motor is to be get used here. So after it is to be filled up to some extent, the total mold is to be get taken out. It is to be get removed and it is to be get solidify until the part is to be get done. So this is the finished casting. Clear, students? These are the main parts. One is the pouring basin, ladle, molten metal, bottom rollers, finished the motor, casting, mold, and a top rollers. In this one we have to understand one thing is the pouring basin is connected to the mold. Clear? The second one is the mold is to be get rotating. So some pressure is to be get applied. The pressure is applied with the help of a bottom rollers and as well as a top rollers. So the some pressure is to be get applied. It is not to be moved in any of the direction. And as well as the total mold cannot be get open, cannot be get loose or any other thing. So it must not be having some flexible nature. It will be get tight. So the boring basin is carried over the molten metal. So when the mold is to be get rotating, the molten metal is carried over to the mold. So when it is rotating, the molten metal stick on to the walls of your mold. It is not forming a solid content. It is going to be having a hollow content. So it is to be get carried out a hollow part. It is to be sticking over to the walls of your mold. So this is explains that here the mold is to be just sprayed. The mold is to be get sprayed before the total casting is to be get taken, because after it is to be get solidify, it must be in easiest manner to remove the finished part. Clear? This is the total thing, total procedure what is to be get carried out. Okay. So the first thing, the procedure. So whatever I had explained now, the mold preparation, the walls of a cylindrical mold are first coated with a refractory ceramic coating. So I had told you, the firstly, the walls of the cylindrical mold must be get coated. So which involves a few steps, the application, rotation, drying and baking. So after it is to be get coating, so what are the steps is to be get involved? So once prepared and secured, the mold is rotated about its axis at high speeds. The speed is 300 to 3000 rpm, typically around 1000 rpm. So the first one is the mold preparation. So the mold preparation. The next one, the pouring. So molten metal is poured directly into the rotating mold without the use of a runners or a gating system. So you have to observe here, there is no runner or a no gating system. So that the molten metal is to be get carried over to the die. So it is directly pouring. So the centrifugal force drives the material towards the mold walls as the mold fills. So what I had, as the way what I had told you, whatever the molten metal is carried over to the mold, it is stickered over to the walls of your mold. It is not to be forming a solid content. So next one is cooling. So with all of the molten metal in the mold remains spinning as the metal cools. So as the metal cools, it is to be get spin. So the cooling begins quickly at the mold walls and proceeds inwards. Clear? So casting removal. After the casting has cooled and solidified, the rotation is stopped and the casting was to be get removed. So after the casting has cooled and solidified, the rotation is to be get stopped. So the finishing, while the centrifugal force drives the dense metal to the mold walls, any less dense impurities or bubbles flow to the inner surface of the casting. As a result, secondary process such as a machining, grinding or a sandblasting are required. Yes, because the total mold is to be get rotating. So we can't see what is going to be happening in inside. Whether the molten metal which was flowing is in a correct manner, the consistency, the viscosity is in a correct way or not. How it is to be get flow in the total mold part. Clear? So after it is to be get dried, we have to check with the NDT thing how what are the different types of defects it is having, what is the strength it is having, whether it is up to the strength, so whether it is having a good dimensional accuracy and good surface finish or not also. So when the centrifugal casting was to be get taken, the secondary operations are to be get carried out. The secondary operations are must and should to be get carried out. So when centrifugal casting is to be get taken, so the secondary operations like a trimming or any grinding, boring, so lapping, honing. So honing, those type of things can be taken. Clear? So next, the centrifugal casting is used to produce the axisymmetric parts, such as the cylinders or a discs, which are typically hollow. So it is to be mainly used for a hollow shape. So due to the high centrifugal force, these parts are a very fine grain on the outer surface and possess a mechanical properties approximately 30% greater than the parts formed with a static casting methods. So it mainly depends on the old original casting method. This is mostly approximately 30% of it is to be get formed. So these parts may be cast from ferrous metals such as the low alloy steel, stainless steel and iron, or form non-ferrous alloys such as aluminium, bronze, copper, magnesium and a nickel. So these are the materials which are to be get used, and these type of material parts can be get prepared. So centrifugal casting is formed in wide variety of industries, including the aerospace, industrial, marine, and power transmission. So these are the industries, these are the areas where the centrifugal casting is to be get used. So typical parts include the bearings, bushings. So the bearing, bushings and coil and the cylinder liners, nozzles, pipes, tubes, pressure vessels and pulleys, rings and the wheels. So these are the different parts which are mostly used, mostly prepared. Clear? So the advantages, operation is speedy since we can use the mold and course immediately after processing. It is a fast process. It is not a slow process. So heavy and a rush orders. So you can take a very large tenders also. So floor space requirement is less. Okay. Next, semi-skilled labor can be used. It no need of a highly skilled labor. So disadvantage is difficult in reusing the molding sand. So it is difficult to use the molding sand, reuse the molding sand. Clear? So you will see the video. So why the centrifugal casting was taken? Because to prepare a hollow cylindrical metal pipe. So this is the total arrangement. The ladle, the pouring basin. So what is centrifugal casting and how it is to be used? It is mainly used for to form the cylindrical parts that uses by the centrifugal force. It is done through the centrifugal force. Next, so these are the main parts. One is the pouring basin, ladle, top rollers and a bottom rollers and a motor. And this is a mold. The basic setup of a centrifugal casting. It consists of this all. And the pouring basin is directly connected to the molten mold. So mold is to be it rotates continuously about its axis at high speed. So the molten metal which is very heated up, it is going to get taken into the pouring basin and through the nozzle it is to be get inside. So the one of the thing we have to observe here is there is no gates and no runners. Without the gating and without the runners, the total thing was to get taken. So after some extent, the total mold is to be get taken out from the rollers until it is to be get solidified. It is to be get remain like that only. So this is the piece which is to be get taken afterwards. So this is the final piece which we are going to get. Okay. So to remove the final part in a easiest manner is the coating is to be get done for the mold so that the part can be get removed in a easier way. And next, so those are the two, the centrifugal casting and as well as the cold chamber die casting. So we will see what the different process. So what we have learned up to now. So different process and advantages, disadvantages and examples. The one is the sand casting. So wide range of the metal sizes, shapes and a low cost. The disadvantages, poor finish, wide tolerance. Examples, engine blocks, cylinder heads. And when you learn this total table, we can understand what type of parts, what type of examples, what type of process can be get used. Clear? So the shell mold, it is a better accuracy, finish, higher production rate. So limited part size. The examples are connecting rods and a gear housings. So shell mold, we have learned it. So expandable pattern, so wide range of metals, sizes and shapes. Disadvantages is patterns have a low strength. Examples are cylinder heads, brake components. So plaster mold. Plaster mold is complex shapes, good surface finish. Plaster of Paris mold. We have learned it, plaster of Paris molds. So the disadvantage is non-ferrous metals, low production rate. And the examples are prototype of mechanical parts. Next, the ceramic mold, the complex shapes, high accuracy, and the small size. The disadvantages is small sizes. The examples are impellers, injection mold, tooling. So these are the things which can be get done with the ceramic molds. So the investment casting, the advantages is complex shape, intricate shapes, excellent finish. Disadvantages is small parts, expensive. The examples are the jewelry, what is to be get made. So the next one is permanent mold. So good finish, low porosity, high production rate, costly mold, and simpler shapes. And a simpler shapes only. Next, the examples are gears, gear housings. So the die casting, it is an excellent dimensional accuracy, high production rate, and costly dice. These are the advantages: excellent dimension accuracy, high production rate. And when it comes to the disadvantages, the costly dice, the small parts, and a non-ferrous metals. So these are the disadvantages. It is very costly, the die casting, because the permanent die we are going to preparing, so it can be reused. It is not of waste, so it is reused, but it is to be used for what type of parts, it is very important or not. So examples are precision gears, camera bodies, and car wheels. So these are the examples for which they are used. And centrifugal casting, the large cylindrical parts, good quality, it is an advantages. The disadvantages are the expensive, limited shapes. This is disadvantages. Yes, in a centrifugal casting, what it is used? It is used for a cylindrical parts only, not for more type of parts. We can't use the another different types of shapes. So the examples are pipes, boilers, and a flywheels. If it is having a hollow shapes, that type of things can be easily get manufactured with a centrifugal casting. Clear, students? So these are the things which we learn in our last class and this class. Okay. So in the next class, we will learn about the carbon dioxide molding. So it is mainly it is a sand mixed with a 3 to 5% sodium silicate liquid. So I think it is not covered in your PT syllabus also. So it is a carbon dioxide molding. We will see in the next class. So aluminum oxide kaolin clay may also be added to the sand. So the main advantages of the carbon dioxide is the operation is speedy, since we can use the mold and the course immediately after the processing. So heavy and rush orders. So we will see more and more about the carbon dioxide molding. It is going to be asking more and more. So in the next class, we will learn about the furnace also. So what are the different types of furnace are to be used to done the molten metal? So what are the Kapila furnace? So what are the direct fuel fired furnace? So what are the different types are to be get done? And the casting defects. The next casting defects we had seen. So the defects may occur due to one or more of the following reasons. So you know what are the different types of casting defects are to be get done are occurring. So the main thing is if the casting process is not arranged in a correct manner, so main defaults defects will be get occurred. So one is the fault in the design of a casting pattern. So when the pattern is not in a correct manner, you can't get a correct shape also. So the fault in design on mold and a core. So already we have learned in the last class what are the tests are prepared for a mold and a core. So what is the moisture content, whether it is to be get seen in for a core sand, and as well as the sleeve analysis is to be get done, and the mold is to be get seen under all categories, whether it is having a good strength or not. So whether all the parts are having in a correct way or not, or else it is having any cracks, any other thing. So the main fault comes in the design of the casting pattern, and the fault in design on mold and a core. So the next one is fault in designing of a gating system and a riser. So gating system and a riser is also very, very important. For that's way only when we are going to be do the sand casting in our lab, what we will see, the gating must be in a correct manner. It must not be in a high flow. It must be in a smooth flow and it is very short. It must be very, very small. It is not very big, the gating system. So as well as a riser. So why the riser is to be get used? So next, the improper choice of the molding sand. So the sprue and the riser and the gating system are the three are the main things which are used in your casting process. So improper choice of a molding sand. So what type of molding sand is to be get used for what type of materials to be get prepared. So improper metal composition. So when the metals are not in a correct composition, whether if you are going to take some 2% of chromium and 3% of carbon, or a 5% of a zinc, or any other thing, when you are mixing up different types of composites, so it depends on the composites also, the part will be get effect. So what type of composition is to be get used? So inadequate melting temperature and rate of pouring. So what is the type of melting temperature you had placed? Whether the melting temperature is high or it is low. So what is going to be taken? So these are the main casting defects what we are going to be getting when the casting was done. Okay. So some of the defects are misruns, hole shuts, hole shot, shrinkage cavity, micro porosity, and hot tearing misruns. So here the misruns is typically cause includes that fluidity of the molten metal is insufficient. So this is the main important thing when the casting part is having any defects like pore holes or like cracks or any other thing. So the strength is not good, the toughness is not good. So why it is going to happen means when the fluidity of the molten metal is not in a sufficient manner. So not in a sufficient manner means whatever the ladle you are going to be taking, it must be correct for the total process. It must not be taken at 2 to 3 times the molten metal. It must be in a correct ladle. It is to be get carried over. So what is the fluidity of the molten metal is insufficient or not? So fluidity of the molten metal insufficient or not means what type of molten metal is to be get carried out for a certain part. Whether you are going to be carrying a very small molten metal, small quantity, it is not enough. So the pouring temperature is low, too low. The pouring temperature is too low. So after the molten metal is to be get done, so you have to be poured at that same temperature. There must not be any breakdowns. So the pouring is done too slowly, or the cross section of the mold cavity is too thin. So the pouring is done too slowly. When it is done very too slow, we are going to be getting some bubbles in your casting parts also. So that causes the holes, the sprue holes. So the cross section of the mold cavity is too thin. When the cross section of the thing, see when you are going to be taking a centrifugal casting, if the surface, the wall is very, very thin. So what is the use of that piece? It is no need to use that piece, because when a certain strength, when certain parts are going to be adding to that part, what happens? It automatically breaks. So what type of thickness we are going to be maintaining? So you have to ask it out whether the very thickness, a small thickness cannot be get used. Yes, we can use, but what type of material is to be get used to prepare a very small thickness? Whether the material is having high properties, you can use. So depends on the material properties also. We have to be taken care. What is the thickness of your piece? What is the height of your piece? What is the length of your piece? So the piece must not be more length. If the more length is to be get taken, the piece can be get more defects. So what is the length of your piece also? It is to be get done. So that's why when you are going to be seeing taken, when you went for an industry also, you will be having a pipes only for up to one extent of it distance only, not a more and more. So what the thing is, we are attaching the pipes. When the pipe is having a very more length, what happens? It won't be get good strength, good toughness. So what is the cross section of the mold cavity? So this comes under the misruns. So it is the casting that has solidified before completely filling the mold cavity. These comes under the misruns. So the cold shut explains that it occurs when two portions of the metal flow together, but there is a lack of fusion between them due to premature freezing. It causes similar to those of a misruns. So there is a lack of flow metal. So when the flow metal is not up to some extent, the solidification cannot be get done. After it is to be get solidified, it is going to be happen. Some cracks will be there. Some strength is to be get decrease. Some type of defects are to be get there. So this cold shut is nothing but it comes under the misruns only. It comes under misruns only. So cold shots. So it is not a shut, cold shots. So when splattering occurs during a pouring, solid globules of the metal are formed that become entrapped in the casting. So pouring procedure and gating system designs that avoid the splattering can prevent those defects. So the pouring procedures, whatever you are doing, the sprue procedure, the sprue must be in a correct manner. It must be put on a correct place. And after placing the sprue, the ramming is to be get done over the sand. And after the ramming is done, the sprue is to be get taken over. The sprue is not a constant; it is to be get taken over. So when the ramming is perfect, so the sprue is to be get removing. So when the sprue is removing, when the sprue is to be get removed, the sand cannot be get into that place. So what is the procedure you are going to be taken so that no sand is to be get over to those places. So when the gating was given to flow the molten metal. So what type of gating you had given? Whether the gating was given in a perfect manner or else you had done a small way. So what is the thing? So what is the procedures you are following? So how much depth the gating system was given? Whether it is a very small depth it is useless. So what is the depth of the gating system you had given when it is sand casting or any other casting? Because you had seen the hot chamber and cold chamber, it is a totally cylindrical piece. The gating there is a cylindrical part. So it is the molten metal cannot get in out. But when you are going to be taking a sand casting, so how the gating is to be given? So there the gating is the semicircular part you are going to be designing there. So when the ramming was done in a correct manner, everything will be get correct. Everything, nothing is going to be happen in a wrong manner. Okay, so that explains the to avoid the splattering can prevent these defects. So next one is shrinkage cavity. So this defect is a depression in the surface or an internal void in the casting caused by the solidification shrinkage that restricts the amount of molten metal available in the last region to freeze. So when why the plunger is to be in that position? You had seen a cold chamber, you had seen a hot chamber and everything. So you are going to be placing the plunger in a certain position only. We are not getting out the plunger because when the total body wants the molten metal, it can be get taken, it can be get sucked from that one. So the molten metal is to be in a correct position and a high pressure is to be get given there. In similar manner, you are going to be using a riser, you are going to using a screw to pour the metal and the riser is to be used to remove the excess metal. So the riser, you are not removing when the excess metal is getting out. You are going to be seeing, we are going to be taken over the riser there only. It is not to be get removed after the excess material is to be getting out. Clear? So the thing is, there won't be a shrinkage. Shrinkage allowance cannot be get there. If the shrinkage is to be get there in the total part, the total product will be get damaged. So the solidification shrinkage is not to be get. Clear? Next, the microporosity. So this refers to a network of a small voids disturbed throughout the casting caused by the localized solidification shrinkage of the final molten metal in the dendritic structure. So this all the same thing. So this also the same thing where it explains under the shrinkage cavity. So next one is hot tearing. So this defect also called as hot cracking. So hot cracking, it occurs when the casting is restrained or early stages of the cooling after solidification. So early stage, this is the final stage. The microporosity, the shrinkage cavity is the final stage. So a hot tearing is the early stage of the solidification, which is going to be taken. So these are the main defects which we are going to be seeing when the casting is to be get done. Okay. So in the next class, we will learn about next class we will see about what is meant by carbon dioxide molding, and as well as what are the different furnaces are used to melt the molten metal. Okay.